way into these what I wanted to ask you is because it goes right into it. Two stories you've told me. One about being at a rest stop in South Carolina, and the Miami story with father. So can you share these stories if they are not too personal?
Definitely the Miami's no problem. The South Carolina, I'm thinking I'm not. We did a couple of crazy things there, so you might want to refresh which thing we.
Well, you were talking about smoking and being pulled over, and the cops coming to get you.
Yeah,
coming to talk to you.
That was really scary. You know, we're like in some campground down where those palmettos. It's kind of like where the pine forest meets the swamp. Okay. It's really beautiful and a very unique place, and I've never been back there yet. And I actually want to kind of telling my wife I want to do a Carolinas vacation sometime with us. And definitely go see you guys, you know, which is way past due, right? But it was a very beautiful place. And so naturally we wanted to smoke there and enjoy the sunset. And unbeknownst to us, South Carolina, like basically will hang you by your balls if you get caught with weed at that time. This is like 20 years ago, you know, still probably, I don't know what it's like now, but I'm still scared. I'm still scared. We're from California where it's like totally normal. So like, yeah, we it got close with the cops, and I think James was like the only one that hadn't partaken, so we were like pushing him to talk to the cops. You know, like James would love to talk to you right now, you know, fuck, you know. So that was close, dude. We were real close there. Yeah, as we're like wandering around the swamp with fucking alligators and shit, and like we don't know this, right? Like we're like, you know, it was a good time for us. So it was very foreign, not a foreign, but exotic, I guess, in a way for us. The stuff, you know, like we're not used to alligators and things like that. Right. But it was a beautiful place, and I definitely want to go back, though. I'll tell you. As far as
welcome you, yeah.
And that was like the night or two before everything kind of turned to shit with Nate, the father. That story, you know, and that's a pretty heavy story, you know, and. Yeah. So like we had a booking agent actually on that tour, and that was 2004, I want to say. I think, yeah. So it was a little later, 2004. And I'm pretty sure 2004, maybe 3, but something like that, 3 or 4. And we were in South Carolina, and then the next night, I think we started to get down. I think we beelined it all the way into Florida, and we had a show at the Hard Rock Cafe in Miami. So it was a pretty good drive from South Carolina to Miami. And I remember driving like all through the night, and we got to Miami at the sunrise. It was amazing because then the sunrise is on the ocean, which for us, California, the sunrise is the sunset on the ocean. Yeah. So it's opposite. It's cool for us. It's different. So we like it. So like, wow, this is fucking cool. And of course we like, well, we should start drinking, you know? So we're drinking, and like the beach was South Beach. It's the famous South Beach of Miami, you know? And we got our shitty van like parked right there because it was like 5 a.m. So you have first dibs. And we're out by this hotel, and like, we're going to play that night at the Hard Rock. And we figured like, let's just have a beach day and we'll just chill, and then we'll play our show because, you know, we're like 20 something years old. So we like sleep every few days. We don't care. And like, you know, we're bouncing off the walls. And so we meet some girls and have a nice beach party with a lot of ladies at the hotel. And our Nate, you know, just hanging out. I mean, you know, just hanging out at the beach, like, but having fun. And Nate was like, well, so we're hanging out. There's going to be a concert there too, right? So we see this festival being set up because there's going to be a concert on the beach like tomorrow, but not this day. And Justin Timberlake's playing the festival, so he's staying at the hotel. We don't know this, right? But walking down the little beach, holding hands, is Justin Timberlake and Cameron Diaz, spreading the love. And Nate's like, oh, look, it's fucking Justin Timberlake. He's all fucking cry me a river, buddy. Fucking sing me cry me a river and shit. They're trying to be funny because he's like kind of like, he's a funny guy, dude, the father, dude. So everyone's laughing, you know, and everyone's laughing and looking at them and like just fucking around. And they get into the ocean and they kind of like start to go out like a little bit to paddle, you know, float around. He's like, oh, watch me. I'm going to run and splash him. So we're about probably 100 feet up from where the waves are hitting the beach. And he runs like full speed into the ocean, and he jumps in like head first. And unknown to him at the time, there was a sandbar like right under the wave. And so he stuck his head in the sand and went over, and then broke like a couple of his vertebrae in his neck.
Wow.
Went into was paralyzed at the time. And we just see him go underwater, and like he just doesn't come up for like a fair amount of time, where like, that's not funny anymore. Like, what the fuck? And I see it just his like mouth come out, and he yells help, like screams help. And I just fucking Baywatch ran fucking for his ass.
Right.
And got there first, and there was like another kid kind of near him, and he tried to help me. And I was like, hold him up. He's like, I can't move, dude. You got to hold me up. I can't move. I can't fucking move. I'm going to drown, you know? So I was holding him up above the waves. It wasn't big waves, but it was like, you know, little waves. It was ocean. And nothing crazy. Nothing. It wasn't a crazy weather or nothing, but like some dude fucking saw what happened, and he ran up to me, and he's like, this is like all the things. I mean, there's so many things I can't remember, right, in the world, in my life, right? But like, the guy ran up, he said, my name is Gavin. I'm a doctor from South Africa, and I'm going to help you. And we crossed arms, and he kind of like told me what to do. And we basically made a human stretcher, and we walked him to the beach. And then ambulance came on the sand, and they took him in his fucking shorts, you know, and put a brace on his neck and loaded him up. And I went with him. And then the guys like, you know, wrapped up everything and met us at the hospital. And like, it was heavy, dude. It was fucking heavy, you know, and basically broke his neck. He almost died. He should have, so he's paralyzed. He's in the ambulance. I started praying, and I'm not, at the time, had not been like that. My parents weren't into church. They had bad experience. Never took me to church, told me you can do your own thing. We're not going to say bad things, but we don't like it. And we don't like the formal organized religion. Right. Basically like, find your own God, do your own thing. We're totally open for it, but like, we're just not going to do that. Like, you do your own thing. And so I'm not one at the time to be like, you know, very, you know, pray and do all these things, you know, and I'm not trying to like demean that, but it wasn't part of my thing at the time, you know. But man, I fucking prayed that day, dude, because my buddy couldn't fucking move. And the feeling came back in his extremities or whatever, as his arms and legs started to move, basically as we were getting to the hospital, which I find to be a miracle. And and then the doctors looked at his neck, and the doctor lined up every single like important person at the hospital and showed him the x-rays, because they had never seen someone live from these broken bones before. Wow. And so they told him, they said to him, you might not think that this is the right thing to say right now, but you're actually the luckiest dude in Miami right now, because you should be dead. Wow. And we don't even know how the fuck you're alive from this. And so they had to try to emergency surgery. Surgery didn't go well. He had to have surgery again. You know, he had sand in his neck, in his beard, a beard that grew, and sand was in there the whole healing process. Wow. It never got washed out. The dude itched like a motherfucker for like a year, dude. Like, I mean, just tormented with the shit. Like, the dude's really, really tough, dude. Like, he never complained. Super positive. He's like trying to tell jokes to the EMTs and shit. I'm like, bro, like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, let's deal with this shit, dude. Like, you don't need to put on a show for these dudes. He's like, I gotta go. I got a show at Hard Rock tonight. And they're like, you're not fucking going to fucking Hard Rock tonight, bro. He's
still want to play. I remember that.
Oh, he's ready to go. Yeah, he's still ready.
Yeah,
wanted to still play, dude. And was one of the hardest things was, he told us, like, you guys still need to go play the show. Like, come back after the show, but like, you're not just gonna sit here and we're not gonna. Vengeance don't play the show. Like, so we had to go. We went and played the show, and I had to like play his. He was at the time was more sampling. He had the sampler and stuff. And we set it up, and he showed me in the hospital like how to fucking run the shit, and like I did his shit, and there's some photos out there of it, and we had a great show. It was really, really cool. And we went back, you know, and spent the night with him, and basically waited until his father was on a plane to come and kind of like relieve us. And then we still had the van and all our shit in Miami. We live in fucking California, dude. So like, we're 3,000 miles away at the home.
Crazy.
and we had to, carry all his shit home, everything. And we had shows booked the whole way home too. Like we had like a show like in Lakeland, Florida, which is kind of Tampa. And we played in New Orleans and San Antonio and like, I don't know, a few other shows, down on the way back, but it was really heavy, dude. Like not having him there, and, but he healed up after all that shit. And, we had a DJ, our buddy Geronimo, filled in for Nate for live shows for, I don't know, 6 months or so until he could actually play again, like on stage. So we played a pretty big show with Death Angel with our buddy Geronimo, who he would sit back like next to the drums. Nate kind of up front. That was the main difference, but he was cool, dude. He's still a great friend. He's a painter. He just painted my house. Good friend. But yeah, dude. So that's that story, But it was really heavy.
I just thought that it was a very important story about just how you still can come from things, and I just remember that story's always stuck with me. I'll never forget it. So it was like, when you were talking about it, even back then, I could see everything, because I always tell people I see everything, and so I could just see it so clearly. So I'm just looking in his face and just knowing who he is and knowing his how he handles things and how he goes about things and how cool he is, and so everything you're saying is just awesome, and just respect to him, man, because he's a great dude.
It's real special to be able to play shows with him ever since then, to be honest with you,
100%.
I remember seeing him, watching us once on the side of the stage with his big neck brace, and it's not the same.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
So when you guys returned home from all those shows, were you mentally, where were you mentally as musicians? Had you just grown so much more than that? Where were you just stronger? What was your mindset?
We were going for it hard. We had just got signed with Jägermeister, and that was when Jägermeister Music was the top sponsor a metal band could have. And they were putting a lot of money in us. They were making all our posters. They were pressing our CDs, T-shirts, and made big old fucking flags and shit, and like dope, cool shit. And it really elevated our image and our professional like image in that sense, of like how we looked, and we completely separated ourselves from the local bands at that point, and like that's when we started getting bigger shows, and so we were itching for them to get back with us because things were growing, and so we were going. And we wrote an EP called a Deathbed Thank You Letter, which is like Nate's. It's basically a song as if like what he would have wrote if he was not going to make it through the surgery and stuff. And so it's heavy, and the album cover is like a picture of his actual broken spine and stuff. And it's out of print. We don't even fucking have access to the original art files because like Jaeger has all the shit now. But we did re-release that last year with different artwork, but it's and reason being because the artwork had like Jaeger stuff on it. We weren't allowed to use it anymore, But anyways, there are 2 songs that weren't released to the digital world from 2004 that are out now on our Spotify if anyone's interested in listening to them. A song called Asphyxiate. It's about like choking. Deathbed Thank You Later. These are songs that we wrote after Nate broke his neck, So those were kind of ones that were part of that, and then we went from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So who was the first band you guys opened for?
I think that Death Angel show was probably the first one that was bigger. We were already touring and stuff, and we were playing with a lot of like the biggest local bands in each town, but they weren't essentially like a world famous band. And Death Angel is a world famous band, band, and they're from the Bay Area. We played them in Santa Rosa when I was in college in that town. Basically, the fucking show was dope, packed. Really, really funny. It's a funny story. Like at the time, we had another guitar player, this dude we called English. And he's a Korean dude from England, right? Living in America, because Marcus is an Australian from Switzerland living in America, right? So we have the other guitar player now is a Korean dude from England living in America. So they're both like super worldly dudes, like really great guys, as far as just hanging and stuff, like chill. And this dude played guitar for us for a time too, and he was British, but we called him English, and he hated it because like because he's British but not English, and like, just shit like that. And like we'd always just fuck with him. Like we have our own email handles for all of us at vengeance.com, like relentless at vengeance.com, flatline at vengeance.com, father at vengeance.com. Dang it. His was fish and chips at vengeance.com. And he fucking hated it. He was just fucking with him, fish and chips, dude. So, just like hazing in a fun way, not like making you drink, 2 bottles of vodka and killing you hazing, but just, fun hazing, And so Death Angel are Asian American guys, right? And so this dude's Asian American looking or whatever himself. Right. And so like me and English are trying to walk backstage, and they fucking grab me. Whoa, buddy, like only Death Angel, and they let him walk right by. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like he's in my band too. They're like, dude, that's guy's in Death Angel. Like you're going through. I was like, oh shit, dude. And like it's funny, like I love that one. Yeah, so that was probably our first like bigger show. That was like 500 people, and we had played a lot of shows by then, but not all, but mostly underground stuff. Some festivals, like we played this band called Psycho Stick that's actually pretty well known earlier than that, but I feel like Death Angel was the first like internationally world famous established veteran band from the 80s and stuff. And then it really grew from there with Jaeger. Like that was before Jägermeister, but once we got to Jägermeister stuff, like then they started giving shows at Mushroom Head and Disturbed, and like eventually we're on these Rockstar Mayhem shows with the biggest of the bands, Slayer, Rob Zombie, Lamb of God, just Hatebreed, I Think, or Death Punch, Machine Head, fucking Anthrax. I mean, just all these bands. And that was really cool for us to be in the club and to be able to carry our weight in the club too. Yeah. Of course. That was really special for our part of, for our careers, if you will.
Indeed. So what do you remember about when we toured together?
A fair amount. I definitely, enjoyed myself. I was suffering from Giardia that entire tour, dude.
Really?
Which was crazy too. Yeah. So like I'm in another band called Endra, right, from Brazil. And for the people that don't know, of course you do, but in case for our viewers or listeners. And so I was in Brazil before the tour when we met you and Suck Mojo. And so it was gonna be Ectomorph and Suck Mojo co-headlining, right? With Endra actually got that offer first.
Yeah.
So the booking agent was a big fan of the drummer of Endra. He had met him because he was the drum tech for Sepultura at the time. And now it's really weird because the new drummer, the current drummer of Endra, who's been in the band a long time now, he is now the drum tech of Sepultura himself. So it's kind of strange. So like, so now we have to kind of work around Sepultura's schedule. It's kind of funny, but it's all good crew, good peeps. But Endra didn't want to do the tour. They didn't like Ectomorph, basically. The Endra dude was like, fuck, Ectomorph sucks, dude. Like, no, fuck it, dude. Yeah, they just didn't like it, dude. They weren't into it. And I was like, I love Stuck fucking Mojo. So fucking I want to do this fucking tour, dude. Like, and so they passed on it, and I said, well, they passed on it. So I talked to the booking and said, I have another band actually that could do this. Like we could pay for our share. We had to pay for our share of the tour bus. Was kind of the thing. And so, but we got to be in the tour bus, dude. Fuck with Stuck Mojo. So get the fuck out of here. So I was like, yeah, dude. So we scraped together some cash. We pay for the bus, and we got the tour, dude. And then we flew in, and we like, we're all wearing like 20 Vengeance shirts, each to not pay for luggage. We're cheap motherfuckers. We're like, we don't want to pay nothing. And we had, I don't know, I think it was that tour with Delta. I think that was the same tour. And, we have press passes and stuff. And James has a press pass because he works for a TV station. Right. And so he had his press pass to get like luggage comped basically because he's pressing. We had like 14 bags comped, and like Delta was like spinning their heads, like, and he's like, well, and so we had so much shit, and we show up, and I mean, well, I was super nervous. The bus isn't there. Like, I'm trying to call a guy. Like, they show up, and you're the first person I think we saw on the bus. And it was like big smile from Lord, and they're like, everything's gonna be okay, big hug. We were just immediately friends. And
Good.
And so it was like the first hour was super exciting. Everyone's meeting each other, and it's cool, and we hadn't slept in like 30 hours. So like we all kind of, I don't know about all the guys, but I know I personally got my bunk, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking lay down because we had a show. We played that night. We arrived and played that night. Whereas most, like, you guys came the night before, as you're supposed to sleep and then play. Well, dude, we don't want to pay for a hotel for one night. In Europe, we're gonna fucking go play. And I come back from Brazil. So I leave Brazil, and I had a stop in like Peru, and then a stop in El Salvador. And in El Salvador, I got some like rotten ass tacos that got me ill. And got back to the States. I was home for one day, and then the second day we rehearsed with Vengeance, and then the next day we left to Europe and played that next night. So it was like, fuck, boom. And on the flight, dude, my stomach's turning, and it's like, Jordan is like a stomach parasite disease thing. And man, I was dying, dude. And like we arrived, and so, and all that happens. But like during that tour, like I lost like 20 something pounds, dude. Like just dying. But dude, I was having so much fucking fun. Like it was my first tour of Europe, first time in a tour bus.
Me too, yeah.
Dude, I didn't give a shit, dude. As long as I wasn't dead, like I was gonna enjoy it. It'd be harder now suffering that much probably, but at the time it was all good, dude. And I mean the very